Good evening. Welcome to the news on African Free Press Television. My name is Leo Oketa, and you're watching stories in the news this week. First, the headlines. Shock as the presidency returns doctored budget to the Senate. PDP asks for the impeachment of the president and other two ministers. Court remands Olisa Metuo in Kuje prison. The Supreme Court upholds the election of Otom as Benue State governor. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign visits President Muhammadu Buhari. Tompolo ignores court order. And former President Goodluck Jonathan honored in Georgia, United States. Now the news in detail. In a new twist to the scandal rocking the Senate following the report that the 2016 budget was either missing or stolen, Senate has accused presidential aide Ita Enang of submitting a fake or doctored copy of the budget, thereby imputing forgery. The Senate President Bukola Saraki, at the end of the executive session that lasted over 2 hours, disclosed that the senior special assistant to the president on the Senate, Senator Ita Enang, reproduced a budget document different from what President Buhari originally submitted to the National Assembly. Other National Assembly sources say the doctored version is 18 pages more than the original document. Senator Saraki said that the Committee on Ethics and Privileges made this finding in the course of investigating the matter. He also said the Senate will proceed to consider the budget as originally submitted by the President when it receives the soft copy. The implication of this, analysts say, is that the original budget either has been found or was never missing. And Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, has asked the National Assembly to impeach President Muhammadu Buhari over the budget scandal rocking the National Assembly. The party also demanded the resignation of two ministers and the central bank governor. The Senate on Thursday accused a senior special assistant to President Buhari, Ita Enang, of presenting to lawmakers an altered version of the 2016 budget. Senators had earlier told newsmen on Tuesday that the budget documents presented by President in December were missing, prompting a Senate investigation. And a federal high court in Abuja has remanded the spokesman of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, Chief Olisa Metuo, in prison following his not guilty plea to a 7-count charge of corruption and money laundering. Mr. Metuo appeared in court on Friday, days after he was arrested by officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for the charges. Days after he was held in detention, the opposition party gave the EFCC 48 hours to either release its spokesman or charge him for the crime he was accused of. The party claimed the arrest of Mr. Metuo was a witch hunt of the party's members to stifle opposition, a claim the ruling party said was false. And the Supreme Court of Nigeria has equally ruled in favor of Samuel Otom in a suit challenging his election as the governor of Benue State, brought by the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Tehemen Tazo. Tazo had asked the court to reverse the tribunal's judgment and declare him winner of the April governorship election in the state. He argued that the tribunal erred in its judgment, insisting that Mr. Otom was not validly nominated to run in the election. In its ruling, the court held that Mr. Tazo had no locus standi to challenge Otom's nomination, he not being a member of the APC. Today's ruling actually again raises questions as to the propriety or otherwise of the various rulings of the Court of Appeal sacking elected officials based on the validity of their nomination. And there was a standoff yesterday at the entrance of the presidential villa Abuja as members of the Bring Back Our Girls group, campaigning for the release of school children abducted by Boko Haram in 2014, insist they will be allowed to meet President Buhari. Members of the group, alongside some parents of the missing schoolgirls from Chibok, Borno State, thronged the entrance of the villa early Thursday. But the group were instead met by a government team comprising the Minister of Women Affairs, Aisha Al-Hassan, as well as the Minister of Defense, Mansour Dan Ali, the National Security Advisor, Mohammed Monguno, and the Chief of Defense Staff, Abayomi Olonishaki. And the spokesperson of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign and former Education Minister, Obi Ezekwesili, who spoke on behalf of the group, said they had earlier met with the President on July the 8th and that they are at the villa to discuss the promises he made to them. And a former Niger Delta militant governor, Ekpemupolo, popularly known as Tompolo, has ignored the court order of the Federal High Court in Lagos to unconditionally appear to answer a 40 counts of alleged 13 billion naira fraud leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. While all his co-accused, including a former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Patrick Akpobolokemi, were present in the court, only Tompolo failed to appear. Justice Ibrahim Buba has consequently issued a bench warrant on Tompolo and ordered the police to produce him in court by all means. And former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was honored yesterday by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. He was awarded with the Presidential Award in recognition of his leadership in advancing human rights, social justice, and rights and fight for universal freedom. The SCLC, founded by the late American civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in January 1957, is currently led by Dr. Charles Steele Jr. The event is part of the activities leading up to the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, January 18, 2016. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is the first African leader to be so honored. Jonathan also received Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s sister, Naomi King, during the event. And these are the stories we're tracking for you coming from Stories in the News this week. For more, please do log on to our website at www.africanfreepress.com. Follow us on Twitter at African Free Press. Like our Facebook page at africanfreepress.com. Join us in our discussions on various interesting topics at African Free Press Forum and subscribe to our YouTube channel at African Free Press. From me, Leo Oketa, and the whole team in the studio, this is a good evening to you. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend.